A mint candy can turn an ordinary breath into something that feels almost icy. You chew it, inhale, and suddenly your mouth seems colder. Your throat feels fresher, and a glass of water can taste like it came straight from a glacier. But here's the strange part. The mint did not drop the temperature of your mouth. There is no tiny refrigerator hidden inside a peppermint leaf. No ice has formed on your tongue. The cold is real as a feeling, but not real as a temperature change. Mint has pulled off one of the most elegant tricks in biology. It has convinced your nervous system that cold has arrived, even when the thermometer would disagree. The key player is menthol, a small chemical compound found naturally in mint plants, especially peppermint and corn mint. Menthol is the reason many toothpastes, chewing gums, cough drops, mouthwashes, balms, and cooling gels all share that sharp, clean, chilly sensation. It is not just a smell. It is not only a flavor. Menthol reaches into the sensory wiring of the body and presses a button that normally belongs to cold. Your brain does not directly touch the world. It does not feel the mint, the air, the water, or the temperature itself. Your brain is locked inside your skull, receiving electrical messages from nerves. Everything you feel is built from those messages. Heat, cold, pressure, pain, sweetness, freshness, burning, smoothness. These are not raw pieces of the outside world arriving untouched. They are interpretations. Your skin, mouth, nose, and throat are full of sensory nerve endings. At the microscopic level, those nerve endings contain proteins that act like tiny gates. Some respond to pressure. Some respond to chemicals. Some respond to heat. Some respond to cooling. When one of these gates opens, charged particles called ions flow across the nerve cell membrane. That flow can trigger an electrical signal, and that signal travels toward the brain. The brain then decides what the signal means. One of the most important cold-related gates is called TRPM8. The name sounds like something from a lab label because it is. Transient receptor potential melanostatin 8. But its job is surprisingly easy to picture. TRPM8 is one of the body's cold sensors. When temperatures drop into a cool range, TRPM8 can open. When it opens, the nerve cell becomes active. The message sent upward is not written in words, but if the brain could translate it, it would sound something like, cold detected. Menthol is unusual because it can activate TRPM8 even when the temperature has not actually fallen. It fits into the biological machinery of the receptor in a way that makes the cold sensing channel more likely to open. In other words, menthol lowers the bar for sending a cold signal. A part of your nervous system that usually waits for actual cooling suddenly starts behaving as if cooling has happened. The result is that unmistakable minty chill. This is why mint feels cold, but does not work like ice. Ice cools you by physically taking heat away from your mouth. Its temperature is lower than your tissues, so heat flows into the ice, and the tissue temperature changes. Menthol does something different. It changes the behavior of the sensor. The thermometer mostly stays the same, but the alarm system is triggered anyway. That difference matters. If you placed a mint candy and a piece of ice on a sensitive thermometer, the ice would show a clear temperature effect. The mint candy might have the same room temperature as everything around it. Yet in your mouth, the mint can feel colder than it really is, because the feeling is generated by nerves, not by the thermometer reading alone. A good comparison is chili pepper. A spicy chili can make your mouth feel hot, but the chili itself is not burning like a coal. The main chemical behind that heat is capsaicin. Capsaicin activates another temperature-related receptor called TRPV1, which is involved in sensing high heat and painful heat. That is why a chili can feel like fire even when it is physically cool. Menthol and capsaicin are like opposite illusionists. Capsaicin pushes the hot button. Menthol pushes the cold button. This does not mean your senses are broken. They are doing exactly what evolution built them to do. The body did not evolve as a laboratory instrument. It evolved as a survival system. It does not need to report the exact temperature of every surface to 3 decimal places. It needs to detect useful patterns. This is dangerously hot. This is uncomfortably cold. This is irritating. This may be damaging. This is safe enough to keep eating. The association between mint and freshness is so strong that toothpaste almost feels wrong without it. But the cool feeling after brushing does not prove your teeth are cleaner by itself. A toothpaste can clean because of brushing, fluoride, abrasives, detergents, and other ingredients. Menthol adds a sensory signal that the brain reads as freshness. It makes the experience feel crisp and clean. The feeling is powerful, but it is not the same thing as a hygiene meter. The same trick appears in cough drops and throat lozenges. Menthol can make the throat feel cooler and less irritated for a while. Part of that comes from sensory effects. It changes how nerves in the mouth and throat report what is happening. This is why a lozenge can feel soothing, even though it is not freezing the throat. It is changing the conversation between the tissue, the nerves, and the brain. There is another detail that makes mint even more dramatic. After menthol has activated cold receptors, actual cold can feel colder. Drink cold water after chewing strong mint gum, and the chill can feel exaggerated. The water may be the same temperature as before, but now the cold sensing system is already primed. Your brain receives a stronger cold-related pattern of signals, so the experience becomes more intense. It is like turning up the sensitivity on a motion detector and then walking past it. Air can have the same effect. That sharp, icy feeling when you inhale after a mint is not just your imagination. Moving air can mildly cool moist surfaces in the mouth and throat, and menthol has made the cold-sensing nerves easier to activate. Together, they create a blast of freshness that feels much colder than the air really is. The effect is especially noticeable in the mouth, because the mouth is packed with nerves. It is designed to inspect the world before you swallow it. Is this food? Is it too hot? Is it irritating? Is it spoiled? Is it sharp? The mouth is not just a hole for chewing. It is a chemical and physical inspection chamber. So when menthol arrives, it lands in one of the most sensitive sensory environments in the body. Your nose also plays a role. Minty freshness is partly taste, partly smell, and partly trigeminal sensation. The trigeminal system is responsible for many chemical feelings in the face. The sting of carbonation, the burn of wasabi, the sharpness of ammonia, and the coolness of menthol. That is why menthol can feel like it opens the nose, even if it does not literally create a huge new airway. The sensation of airflow can change because the nerves reporting coolness and freshness are being stimulated. This is also why flavor is more complicated than most people think. When you say something tastes minty, you are combining several streams of information. Taste buds can detect basic tastes like sweetness, saltiness, sourness, bitterness, and umami. Smell adds aroma. Temperature receptors add warmth or coolness. Irritation receptors add bite, sting, or burn. Texture adds another layer. The final experience is a blend constructed by the brain. Mint is not just a flavor, it is a full sensory event. But menthol is not magic, and more is not always better. At low amounts, it can feel pleasantly cool. At higher concentrations, it can become irritating or even feel burning. That sounds contradictory, but it makes sense once you remember that sensory chemicals often affect more than one pathway, especially when the dose rises. A gentle signal can become an unpleasant one. The same mouth that reads a mint as refreshing can read a stronger chemical hit as too intense. The discovery of receptors like TRPM8 changed how scientists think about sensation. For a long time, people knew that menthol felt cold and chili felt hot. But knowing the feeling is not the same as knowing the mechanism. The breakthrough was finding the molecular sensors that turn temperature and chemical signals into nerve activity. That work helped show that sensations are not vague mysteries floating somewhere in the mind. They begin with physical structures in cells, with proteins that open and close. And yet, the result still feels almost magical. A molecule from a leaf can enter your mouth, touch a protein on a nerve ending, open an ion channel, launch an electrical signal, and make your brain construct the feeling of cold. Not symbolic cold, not pretend cold, a real subjective experience of cold, built from a signal that usually means the world has cooled down. That is the deeper lesson hidden inside a mint candy. Your senses are not passive windows. They are active predictions and interpretations. They use signals from the body to build a useful version of reality, not a perfect copy of reality. Most of the time, that system works so well that you never notice it. Then menthol comes along and exposes the machinery. The next time mint makes your breath feel icy. The strangest part is not that your mouth feels cold. The strangest part is how little it takes to create that feeling. A small molecule does not need to freeze anything. It only needs to speak the language of your nerves. Your brain does the rest. The cold was never in the mint. The cold was in the message.
Thanks for watching! If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. See you in the next one!